If what 50 Cent just said is true, Jay-Z might be in serious trouble because according to him, Roc Nation didn't just go after Nicki Minaj. They tried to control her, and not through contracts or deals, but through something way darker. A plan to label her mentally unstable, to take her power, to silence her voice. If this sounds familiar, it's because we've seen it before. Wendy Williams, Britney Spears, even Kanye West. Every time, it starts the same way. Rumors, drama, concern for their mental health. And every time, it ends with someone losing control of their own life. But this time, 50 Cent claims he saw it coming. He says Jay-Z's team was setting Nicki up from the inside. And now, the question everyone's asking is, how deep does this go?
It all began with one post, one angry tweet, and suddenly the entire internet caught fire. Nicki Minaj had just clashed with Charlemagne and Gucci Mane's wife, Keisha Kayor, after her appearance on The Breakfast Club. At first, it seemed like just another celebrity feud. Words thrown around, egos bruised, fans divided. But then, Nicki said something no one expected. She brought up Wendy Williams. Out of nowhere, she hinted that the same people who destroyed Wendy's career were now coming for her. She even called out Charlemagne directly, saying he was connected to Jay-Z and Roc Nation. That's when things got strange, because Nicki wasn't just talking about drama anymore. She was talking about a system, about being set up, about her home being swatted 4 times while her toddler was inside. Fans started to wonder if Nicki was spiraling, or if she knew something we didn't. And that single tweet, that one unexpected mention of Wendy Williams, changed the entire conversation, because suddenly it wasn't about a feud, it was about a pattern.
After that tweet, whispers started turning into headlines, and suddenly the rumor didn't sound like just paranoia anymore. People began claiming that Roc Nation, Jay-Z's powerhouse label, had a plan to label Nicki Minaj as mentally unstable. The allegation said doctors were already involved, that they were preparing reports, evaluations, and diagnoses, bipolar, schizophrenia, whatever it took to make her look unfit. If that sounds wild, remember Britney Spears, remember Wendy Williams, remember how both stories started with concern for their health. Every time, it's the same playbook. Take control of their image, question their stability, then step in to help. And before they even realize it, their career, their money, their freedom is in someone else's hands. But here's where Nicki's story takes a turn. Because unlike Britney or Wendy, Nicki is married. That changes everything. Under the law, if she were ever placed under a conservatorship, her husband, Kenneth Petty, would automatically control her estate, not Roc Nation, not the courts. That makes her harder to control. It means there's a wall between her and anyone trying to take her assets. And according to insiders, Roc Nation didn't like that one bit. So if they couldn't control Nicki, the only way was to destroy her husband's reputation. Once Nicki's name started trending, the focus shifted fast. But not to her music, not to her tweets, to her husband. Suddenly, everywhere you looked, stories about Kenneth Petty were popping up. Articles, gossip blogs, even anonymous insiders, all saying the same thing. Kenneth can't be trusted. Some said he was stealing money from Nicki. Others claimed he was secretly draining her accounts to buy jewelry and cars. It didn't matter if any of it was true, because the damage was already being done. And here's the part that makes it look suspicious. Kenneth already has a record. Everyone knows his past. So pushing that narrative didn't take much effort. All they had to do was remind the world who he used to be. Once that image stuck, the criminal husband, the problem partner, it opened the door for everything else. Because if the public believes Nicki's surrounded by danger, then saying she needs protection suddenly sounds reasonable. It's the same trick every time. Destroy the people around the target, then step in pretending to save them. It's not just about money, it's about control. Control the narrative, control the people, control the artist. And that's when things got even darker. Because just as everyone online started calling Nicki crazy and paranoid, Tasha K stepped in.
then, just when people thought Nicki was spiraling, Tasha K entered the chat, and what she said flipped the internet upside down. According to Tasha, Nicki wasn't paranoid. She was being set up. Tasha claimed that Roc Nation was allegedly using the same playbook they used on Wendy Williams, the same manipulation, the same pressure, the same mental health trap. She said there were doctors on payroll, professionals ready to sign off on fake diagnosis to make Nicki look unstable, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, anything that could be weaponized. The goal? To convince the public and the courts that Nicki couldn't manage her own life. Tasha explained it like a game of chess. First, you isolate the target. Then, you divide them from everyone who could protect them. And finally, you conquer. Divide and conquer. That's the system. The same system that silenced Wendy, the same system that caged Britney for years. And now, Tasha says they're trying it again, but this time with someone who refuses to play by their rules. Nicki's not just fighting for her career. She's fighting for her freedom. Because if these claims are true, it means the industry doesn't just manage its stars, it owns them. But then, the story took an even darker twist.
As if the outside pressure wasn't enough, the cracks started showing from the inside. Because this time, it wasn't Roc Nation leaking stories. It was the people closest to her. Word spread fast that her former assistant Kada and her old best friend Ra Ali had turned on her. According to reports, Nicki's personal info, Apple ID, passwords, even bank details somehow got out. And the people pointing fingers weren't randoms online. They were people who used to sit at her table. Fans said Ra Ali and Kada were leaking information, feeding gossip blogs with everything from her spending habits to private arguments behind closed doors. And just when things couldn't get messier, Cardi B jumped in. She started posting cryptic tweets, claiming Nicki had been diagnosed for years and was on heavy meds. She mentioned perks, Xanax, and the man controlling her credit cards. To the outside world, it looked like pure shade. But to Nicki's fans, it felt like proof. Proof that the smear campaign wasn't just coming from the top, it was spreading everywhere. It wasn't just Jay-Z's circle anymore. Even her own friends were turning on her. The trap was closing in from all sides. The industry, the media, her circle. And just when everyone thought Nicki was standing alone in the chaos, one person decided to call out the entire industry, 50 Cent.
When everyone else stayed quiet, one man decided to speak, 50 Cent. And if there's one thing we all know about 50, he's not afraid of anyone. While the internet picked sides, 50 was digging for receipts. Because to him, this wasn't just celebrity drama. It was a pattern, a dangerous one. He'd already been going at Diddy for months, calling him out after Cassie's lawsuit, mocking him for settling too fast, and hinting at the real story was much darker. Then he dropped a bomb. A full documentary in the works, one that would expose everything about Diddy and the powerful people protecting him. But while researching that project, 50 started connecting dots that led somewhere else, to Jay-Z. Suddenly, he was posting pictures of Jay with captions like, "Anybody seen Jay?" and "Last seen waving from Puff's jet." He even posted Jay's face on a milk carton with a missing label. Fans laughed at first. It felt like classic 50 trolling, but those who'd been paying attention knew. He wasn't just clowning. He was mourning, because according to 50, the same network protecting Diddy was tied to Jay-Z's Roc Nation. And somewhere in that tangled web was Nicki Minaj. That's when people realized 50 wasn't just throwing shade. He was dropping clues. He'd seen too much. He knew too much. And he wasn't about to stay silent. But here's the thing. While he was working on that documentary, digging into everything from lawsuits to leaked messages, he stumbled across something else. Something that shocked even him.
According to 50, the deeper he dug, the uglier the story became. Because some of the people he spoke to, former Roc Nation associates, industry insiders, and even lawyers, allegedly confirmed the whispers. They told him there were talks inside Roc Nation's circle, talks about containing Nicki Minaj, about getting her evaluated, about protecting her brand before she self-destructs. On paper, it sounded like concern. Behind the scenes, it sounded like a setup. 50 claimed these insiders hinted that a few powerful executives had already lined up medical professionals who could give Nicki a label. Not the kind you wear proudly, but the kind that ends your career. And here's where things get unsettling. The pattern matched too perfectly. The silent isolation, the sudden narrative shift, the concerned insiders quietly leaking mental health stories. It was the same thing we saw happen to Britney, the same machine that crushed Wendy Williams, and now, allegedly, the same gears were turning around Nicki Minaj. 50 didn't name names publicly, but he left breadcrumbs, enough for his followers to connect the dots. He hinted that the system was running scared and that Nicki wasn't supposed to find out. Whether it's true or not, the coincidences are too sharp to ignore, too strategic, too coordinated. And if this is true, it means some of the most powerful people in music are silencing their own. And yet, through all of this noise, all these accusations, Jay-Z has silently continued to remain completely silent.
At this point, it's bigger than Nicki Minaj. It's bigger than Roc Nation. It's bigger than gossip. Because if you step back and really look at the pattern, it's always the same faces, the same endings, the same silence that follows every scandal. Britney Spears fought for years to get her freedom back. Wendy Williams was stripped of hers in a matter of months. And behind every so-called concern for their mental health, there's always someone quietly taking control of their image, their money, their power. Every time it starts with chaos, a public meltdown, a tweet storm. Then comes the help, the doctors, the paperwork. And before the world even realizes what's happening, another celebrity is behind glass, a puppet of their own empire. That's the ugly truth no one wants to talk about. This isn't just about Nicki Minaj being too outspoken. It's about every artist who refuses to play along, every musician who tries to keep their masters, every voice that stops following orders. Because the moment you stop being profitable to the system, you become a problem that needs to be managed. It's a cycle: power, control, silence. And no matter how much fame you have, you're never safe once the machine turns on you. So when 50 Cent says Jay-Z's team might be plotting something, it sounds insane at first, but then you look at the past, at the patterns, at the names, and suddenly it doesn't sound so crazy anymore. Because if 50's claims are true, we might be watching another star being erased in real time.
So where does that leave us? A superstar fighting for her voice? A label accused of trying to silence her? And an industry that seems to repeat the same dark story again and again? Nicki Minaj isn't just another celebrity caught in drama. She's a woman standing in the middle of a storm, trying to hold on to everything she built with her own hands. Maybe 50 Cent's claims are exaggerated. Maybe they're not. But one thing is clear: something about this story doesn't feel right. Too many coincidences, too many patterns, too much silence from the people with the most power. It's the kind of silence that speaks louder than words, because every time we think the truth is coming out, someone suddenly goes quiet, a post disappears, an account gets suspended, and the story fades just like all the others before it. But what if this time it doesn't fade? What if Nicki's fight exposes the system for what it really is? A machine that creates stars and then destroys them when they stop obeying. So what do you think? Is this just another wild conspiracy? Or has Nicki Minaj been marked by the very industry she helped build?